Chicago's finest. It's Chicago's finest. It's Chicago's finest. It's Chicago's finest. It's Chicago's finest. Hosted by your highness. Take a ride with us. Come and cruise the red liners. From the inner city to surrounding suburbs. We got stars shining bright. Yeah, our city on the verge. Yeah, I love my city. Yeah, we love our city. Rolling Lakeshore Drive. It's so pretty in the windy. View the skyline. We got stars up in our city. Say the lovely ladies, what a beautiful committee. A blessing of complexion.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us again for another segment of Chicago's Finest Talk. I am your host, Andrea.
And I'm your host, Rashawn.
And I'm joined here tonight with a couple of men who will be sharing the discussion with us regarding relationships. I have Mr. Melvin Lightford, and sitting next to him is Mr. Elliot Hall. Tonight, our discussion is going to be based upon relationships. And so I thought it was important for me to define the definition of relationship. So I'd like to start with the definition of relationship. You guys on board?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Definition of a relationship. A relationship between two people, a state of connectedness between people, especially an emotional connection, a state involving mutual dealings between people, a connection by blood or marriage, a cooperative relationship between people or groups who agree to share responsibilities for achieving a specific goal. A relationship marked by strong dependence on others, and also relationship also means the kinship relationship between an individual and individuals. So I thought that was very important for me to define what relationship is before we even start talking about relationships. And since relationship and communication goes hand in hand, I also have the definition of what communication means.
Ooh.
Communication means the imparting or interchange of thoughts, opinions, or information by speech, writing, or signs, conveying information, something that is communicated by or to between people or groups, a connection, the activity of expressing or exchanging information, feeling, etc., and data transferred. So I just thought this was very important to do that since we're talking about relationships so that we can all be on the same page. So we're going to start the show off with some questions that we're going to ask. And we just want everybody to just feel comfortable, feel at home. You can jump in whenever you think is necessary. So just loosen up a little bit. And would you like to start, or would you like me to start the questions for the men?
Well, I'd like to introduce the ladies that we have.
Let's
We
do
also
that.
have a panel of ladies here to share in tonight's panel discussion. And we have Miss Nashima Carey, and we also have Miss Sonia Welch.
All right. So I want to jump right in.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
And I want to ask the number one question that I think all women in America want to know. And that is, what drives men to cheat? Would you guys
Elliot, you
care
wanna
to
speak first?
elaborate? You can take turns, you can tag team, whatever
Well,
you feel
please.
comfortable.
I think it got a lot to do with some men being egotistical. You know, some men like to have their cake and eat it too. And it's not necessarily because of nothing that the woman is doing. And it's a little truth to men being dogs, a little bit. I got to be honest about that, you know. But me being raised by women, I got like both sides, both views of, you know, how you see relationships between men and women. But I think men cheat strictly because of just something new, something unknown, you know, the unknown. You know what you got, you know, but I think it's a both sex thing. But as far as just men, all men just got a little dog in them, you know. I think that's true.
Do you think we're stereotyping when we say that? Or
No.
No?
I have to be honest. No, I don't think so.
Do you think they're doing it because that is like what society is doing? Is that like the normal, what
Peer pressure got a
everybody is
lot to do with
doing?
it. Peer pressure got a lot to do with it. If you're from an area and you grew up with guys, and to be a player is supposed to be cool amongst men, you know. And we like men are, like I said, if it's like dogs, we run in packs. So it's kind of like birds of a feather, flock together in a way, you know. When you got a friend or a best friend steady telling you like the Pandora box of like actually meeting another woman or being involved if you married or been in a long relationship. So I think it's just egotistical and just some men got a little dog in them, you know, and peer pressure. So it's three different things.
Is it some men or all men?
It's some men, because some men do have, you know, values. Some men were raised right. Like me, I was raised right. I was raised by women. So, you know, I think we all know right from wrong, though. So I have to be honest about that. And that's male and female. We know right from wrong. So
Yes, we do.
Yeah. I mean, to Melvin's point, you know, being that foundation, being raised by women, and understanding what it is that you have, and kind of knowing what you want to that point as well. You can't just jump into a relationship and have these expectancy, excuse
Right.
me, and you know, expect for that person to grow and to just be molded into something that you want. Or, you know, as time goes on, you kind of get to know one another and you grow together. And I truly think that, you know, it starts with the foundation. It really does. So.
Do you think it has anything to do with the breakdown in communication? Like,
It has
do you
a lot
think,
to do with it.
like, if two people are so connected, like mentally, physically, emotionally, and they got a great communication going on, like, do you think the breakdown of not being able to communicate to one another can maybe start?
it can.
The
They can push each
cheating.
other away. You can outgrow each other like that. You know, I really see people outgrowing each other. Communication. I mean, that's like the key in all relationships,
Talking.
whether it's
Yes.
relationship between a husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, or even people at work that you deal with. You know, communication is always key. And when you have a breakdown in communication, people do stray. You know, you come home and communication out there, you get it from your wife or your girlfriend or fiance or something. It kind of, then you got other people that stroking men ego. Some men lose self-esteem sometimes, you know, and after a while they got to hear certain things to keep it going, to keep their ego going, you know. So when you're in a situation where you're not getting that at home, just because of the communication is not there, you kind of see
That
other
like
things.
opens the door for it
opened
to,
up the
you
door.
know, that possibility of that happening.
It make it easier. The percentage of that happening, it makes it very easy, because now, you know, it's, you know, some men don't like mother figure type girlfriends or wives, you know, and that kind of pushed them away, you know. But I think
What
a
do
lot,
they like?
a lot. What do men like?
I'm just
Just curious.
Well, by me being a scholar, no. I know. The reason why I just know a lot about it, because this stuff is fun to me. I read a lot, so I kind of like. It's fun, you know. You grow up watching soap operas and stuff like this. You learn young about relationships through movies, through sitcoms, through a lot, through plays. You know, Tyler Perry coming out with all these movies about relationships and how things go. But yeah,
okay.
I think part of it has to do with the way men are just naturally wired. Like, we know that men have more testosterone than women, and I think that hormone leads them to be more visual,
Yes,
and
they're
more
very visual.
more visual, more curious, and less emotional than women. So that, I mean, and then I feel that some men are more curious than others. And so they really sometimes, well, they think they can't control themselves, but I think they can. They just choose not to. And because of different cultures, you know, you have like African cultures where they do have more than one
Yes,
wife.
that's
So
true.
for them to cheat, it's not necessarily cheating. It's just living what's natural, or being natural, or, you know, it's something that's accepted in their community. So, and I think some of those ideas have been passed down onto, even though we're not necessarily African, we're African American. I mean, everyone has their term, but you know what I mean. I think that our African American culture, I think there's women have accepted it to some level,
Yeah.
and we say that all men cheat, and then if you do happen to have your boyfriend cheat on you, then it's to a certain degree in the back of your head, in your subconscious, you accept it. And I think that's what allows women to take men back when they do things that I think they can control. And but I do think men are wired differently. You know,
It's very true.
That
I
is so
agree.
true.
I agree.
Good point, Ms. Shima.
You say it like wired, like the little
Wired,
dog.
yeah,
in 'em,
right.
right? That's because that's
Yes,
how you
you
wired.
know.
you guys have this conquer spirit, this conqueror, this warrior spirit that you guys take way too far. I
and
think that-
it's a sex drive is higher, so they're easily, you know, easily distracted and
absolutely
things
Attention
like that.
deficit.
I think, you know, and I also think, you know, I came to this on my own. You know, I think that women stayed in relationships more back in time, you know, if I'm just going to say a ballpark in like 1900s.
Yeah,
I
like
think
grandmothers and
yeah, I
mothers,
think,
yeah.
but I think they stayed because at that time women weren't financially able to take care of themselves as much as they are
point.
It's
now.
a different
I
life.
think
It's a
now
different-
women
it's a
are
different life,
educated. We can financially take care of ourselves. We can financially take care of our kids. So there's no incentive to stay with someone who's emotionally mistreating you. But it made me think on a whole different level because it made me think, you know, God made us a certain way. I think He made men as like hunters and, you know, the providers
and the gatherers.
the gatherers, and women are supposed to be
Submissive.
caring, nurturing, loving, either way. You know, loving through the good and the bad. And I kind of think that God made us that way to keep us together as couples.
Do you think we kind of lost our way then?
You lose your way with society and modernization. Now we just don't have to because we can do for ourselves.
I was going to say, it
That's a
seems
good
like the
point.
reciprocal. Now you're out doing what we would normally do.
Right, and I think
And
you know
you're playing two
people.
roles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and women get
Yeah,
it misconstrued because they say things like, you know, men these days. I think men are the same. I think they've been the same.
Yeah.
I think it's just a different time, and a different society, and a different way of thinking. And now women are more empowered, and so I think that's why you have more, you know, breakups and more marriages that fail. I think it's because of that. I
Well,
think
that's only for a good reason, though. I mean, who want to be abused, male or female?
Right.
correct.
Right.
Correct.
You shouldn't have to take to abuse.
No, I agree, and I think it's a yin and yang of the situation. But I
It's an
think
individual thing.
each person has their decision, and they have to make decisions that best for them.
Well, you know, in situations where you have people that was raised a certain way, like Elliot was saying, as far as your foundation. You know, I come from a family where I'm the youngest boy, the baby boy, with 3 older sisters that's like 7, 8, 9 years older than me. So they taught me how to slow dance when I was young, how to be a gentleman. They showed me that was cool. You know, I kind of grew up and kind of went to be the cool guy. I was an athlete. I was a jock. I was real popular in school and stuff growing up. So it kind of make you be this big-headed dude like your friend was, you know, because he grew up different. He grew up without a father. I grew up with my mom and dad. My mom and dad been married for 50 years. So imagine growing up with no dad and a mother that's not even that much older than you, and you grew up in a society to where you kind of run the household as a child in your mother's house, and they don't teach you that. You know, you learn the stuff from the guy on the corner, you learn the stuff from your next door neighbor. So now your foundation and your upbringing got a lot to do with it, because at some point a man got to know to be submissive to the woman too, you know, as far as that upbringing. You know, like my grandmother was raised different than my mother. My great grandmother was raised different from my grandmother. So as life goes, modernization, things
learned
evolve.
behavior.
Yeah.
It's a lot
It's-
of learned behavior.
All of it's
as
really
well.
learned behavior.
Absolutely.
You know, just
I'm
like
so glad you
racism is
touching
just
on
like
that.
it's like learned behavior. Everything like that. When somebody's mistreating somebody, they got that from somebody. To be an abusive man in your household, to abuse, because I was in situations to where I have friends that I talk to about things like that. The reason why he went through, he didn't even know he was being abusive, because this is what he seen his father do.
Exactly.
You got to break that chain. You got to break that cycle.
Cycle, that's right.
And you know, and that's kind of like off the relationship thing in a way, but your foundation, just how you were raised, really
I
makes
think
who
that's
you are.
interesting, though. I'm so glad that you went there. So I think that's so important that you touched on that. Because it's so relevant.
point.
So I'd like to pose this question. Since we started out talking about cheating, if you caught your mate cheating, would you stay in the relationship and work things out? So I'd like each of you to answer that.
Well, I'll take that question. First, I would like to say if you guys really love each other the right way, and if you started out as friends, I think that you can get back to that same place that you started out with if the love is strong enough. People throw that word love around so loosely. You know, love it covers a multitude of faults. So, you know, I think that as humans, our ability to make mistakes is very strong. We have a high probability to make mistakes. So for you not to forgive somebody that you say that you love because they made a mistake, you know, we can't really say that we couldn't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you love the right way. And if you say you can't do that, then obviously it was something wrong in the first place.
Right, you got to figure out what drove you to do those things. It's still human nature.
I think that's
Yeah.
the important part is, I think if someone cheated, why did they cheat? And the longevity of it. Was this an ongoing thing, or
Yeah.
I think all those factors are important. Is
And
this an
then-
everyday occurrence?
Right, is it
Right.
going to happen again?
Yeah, and what's
You
the
know?
likelihood? Is the bond broken? Do you need to sever ties? Is there no way to fix it? Is there something that you two just cannot see eye to eye on, have never seen eye to eye on, and will never see eye to eye on? And if
Right.
that's the case, then, I mean,
Well,
you,
like you say, if
have
the
to
love
find
is
better
there-
for yourself.
If the love is there and you agree to work it out, it's a one day at a time thing. You know, you just take it one day at a time. And as time goes on, you do heal. You know, you holding this person, you love this person, you with this person every day. You know, and you know what you've done. That's the thing about it. You got to be grown about it. You know, I know what I've done. I know what you've done. So it should be a stalemate. I mean, stop breaking these families up just because she did this or he did this or whatever. If you love that
Nobody's
person,
perfect.
work it
That's
out.
great.
Especially if it's kids involved. You know, we got to say these kids. That's really the thing about it. People break up so easy. You know what I mean? And then it gets back to what drove you to cheat in the first place.
The
Are
aforementioned
can you
characteristics.
understand? See, that's the
Right.
thing. So when somebody cheat, do you understand why that person cheated? If I can't understand why you cheated, then maybe it should end.
Right.
You know, or if the other person feel the same way too. But if you like, well, what drove you to cheat? Well, baby, you stay out all night. I caught you doing this. I mean, it's reasons why because people seek revenge. You know what I mean? So that's just human nature too. You know, you hurt, so you know you're gonna try to hurt that person back. You know, R. Kelly, when a woman fed up, from the man's point of view, that song taught me a lot. Just being a man, when a woman's fed up, you scoring a woman is hard. You know what I'm saying? So you have to do what you got to do. If you do decide to stay in a relationship, it's a one day at a time type deal. I mean,
And
you
communication.
redate, you rekindle the
Yes.
love, you started over from the beginning. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Elliot?
Great points.
Well,
Great.
To your point, Mel, I mean, all the aforementioned characteristics that Andrea mentioned earlier, you know, as all a part of that foundation and building to that point. When you actually go out on a limb or just, you know, commit yourself to someone and you say that you love that person and you're committed to them,
No matter what happens.
That's
You
right.
should-
That's
You got to
right.
be willing to try. Because,
So-
you know,
I think
especially if
that's
it's
so
holy
true.
matrimony involved.
Once that
Because
comes
that's
into play, that's a whole different
that's
scenario.
from God. So
Yes.
anything from God can be fixed. We all know that.
Yes,
You know, so
I
if you
agree.
in a damaged marriage, it can be fixed. If you both are willing to stay in it.
Yes,
You know,
have to
because you
be
can't
two
make nobody
both-
stay
yeah,
with you.
both
And
parties.
You can't make, you know, so if both parties say, hey, we both done this, let's live our life from this point on, it should be beautiful from that. The bond will be tighter. To me, I think the bond will be tighter if you both decide to stay. You don't even know what's in store because God will fix it. He
it
will
can't be
heal.
for any other reason other than the fact that you love one another.
If the love is there,
Exactly.
ain't nothing else to
For-
talk about.
For the fiscal,
That's the point I wanted to
situation,
make. It
yeah.
cannot just be for the children.
Right.
It cannot. It cannot be just for the children. It has to be the love
Because
that
it's-
you have for one another,
That's right.
and the camaraderie and the
It's still
friendship
for the children,
that
and you
have for
still.
one
I
another.
think for the children, you still should at least give it a try.
but if
If
you're
nothing
broken, you can't. What can you give the children or your family as a whole? I mean, if you know, you're instilling all these
Yes.
values
And
In
it's
your
gonna focus on
children.
all that
and your
energy,
children,
too.
and
Yeah,
they're-
you gotta
they're
break
sponging
the
off of that.
cycle at some point. You know, especially if you're getting abused. You know, nobody should stay in a relationship where they being abused. But
No.
I agree.
at the same time, people do change. People do heal. You know, God is good. So I mean, things can change. But like everybody's saying, love. If you don't have the foundation of that love, there ain't nothing else to even talk about. You might as well just go your separate ways. And if it's children involved, just co-parent with.
Absolutely.
You know,
Right.
and never beat each other up to the child or nothing like that. But you know, people live this life every day, you know, and that type of stuff happen every day. But if the love ain't there, ain't no use of being there. But if the love there, that's all what you got to fight for. Love is a strong word. Like Sonya said, you can't just throw it
Covers a
around.
multitude of faults.
You
That's
know,
right.
especially if you both are connected to where you both have the same beliefs. And if you have the same beliefs in love, it should always work.
You're learning from each other, and sometimes faults are necessary.
Yes.
How else you gonna know that person, right?
Exactly.
You have to
Yeah.
learn
Exactly.
as time go on. 5 years, you don't know nobody. 6 years, you don't know nobody. It take a lifetime, especially
It's how
if
you
really
how you
been married
capitalize
for life.
off of it.
It does
Yeah,
take a
yeah.
lifetime
It
to
take
get
a
to know a
lifetime to get to
person.
know a person.
Yes, it does. I agree.
That's where the mending comes in. That's where it helps.
So are there any deal breakers? We understand with abuse, we wouldn't advise anyone to stay in a relationship if they're being abused, but are there any other deal breakers?
Yeah, serial cheating, when you just keep doing it, you know.
Oh
Too
wow,
much.
serial cheating.
Yes.
That's patent, y'all. Nah.
Serial
If you a
cheater.
serial cheater,
Expression.
nobody want to be involved with a serial cheater, male or female.
Like
Simple
Tiger
as that.
Woods.
An attention
You know, like, don't do that.
seeker.
Strike one, strike two,
Right.
strike three. I mean, ain't nobody counting, but at the same time, you can't be a
Serial
serial cheater
cheater.
because, you know, think how you get caught cheating, right? Think you get caught cheating, right?
Okay.
And then the person who you with end up catching you, you know, constantly with the same person cheating in. I mean, that's, we can't do that no more.
But let me ask you, in terms of the patented
Serial
rebuttal,
cheater.
if you're cheating so much, then why are you in
In a
committed?
relationship.
No, it's not a relationship. You know
Because some
what? I say, I'm sorry, but I say, if you are with a person and you know that they're constantly cheating on you, I think you know that you're not in a relationship.
Right.
You
That's
just
abuse
keep
in
saying
itself.
it. You know, you just keep
Right.
It's a
saying
situation.
it. Right.
You're in a situation at
You
that point.
know that. You know, you
It is
just
abuse.
You
I mean,
just
hypothetically,
abuse.
how can
Emotional
you
abuse,
not
mental.
reciprocate? You know, how can you not give me something that she's giving, she's giving, you know what I'm saying? You know, why can't that be something that's worked out and you know,
kept in house.
right?
I mean,
Simply
Okay.
put, thank you.
People look for scapegoats all the time. It's
But,
just, some people cheat just to say, okay, well, she made me mad. Then they go to the bar and meet a new girl. You know, that's just silly.
but I don't think
wants to
that's
do it
love.
anyway,
I
I
don't think these. I don't
No,
think that's
that's not.
love.
That's
That's
confused
not.
love. 'Cause people still
Yeah.
think, oh yeah, I love my woman, I love, you know,
I don't know
who I'm
how
with.
they-
But then they cheat like it's nothing. I mean, so are you in an
Yeah.
open relationship
Right.
or are you a serial cheater? I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
Serial cheating.
serial cheater.
and not the serial.
Right.
Open relationships.
I heard of
That
those.
that whole word just really it befuddles me.
Some
that
people-
agree to these arrangements.
Well, some people don't agree to it, and they tell themselves that they're not agreeing to it, but they're agreeing to it once they allow it, you know. And if
Good point.
especially if they're expecting it and they know what's next. I mean,
So let's revisit all these characteristics of a couple and why you're together with this particular person, you know. And if that's discussed, then that's understood, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not working right now. Can you work with me? You know, you graduated, you're making this amount and, you know, everything is, you know, fiscally is fine in the house. That's cool. So in return, I'm giving you what I can.
what you can.
And whatever that is that worthy of staying with someone or being committed?
As long as you
For a
communicate
time
yourself, right.
period.
You know.
I
Love
mean,
is
'cause
conditional.
that can't be the situation for 10 years.
Right.
But
Right.
for a time
You
period.
have to revisit
Yeah.
it. You have to revisit it.
Absolutely. And families are structured quite differently nowadays as opposed to, you know, how they were back in the day. You know, women, we do get out there and we bring
Yes.
money to the table and everything like that. So it really takes two in order for us to survive in this society today. We can't survive off of just one income. So why is that person not working or gainfully employed? You know, is there a goal that you guys are trying to work together in order to achieve that, you know, the end result, you know, we'll all be good. You know
And
what
I
mean?
think that if you're in a relationship with someone that's not working, temporarily it's fine, but for a long-term period, I think that person is selfish. There's no other way to describe them, because why aren't they contributing? Why are they allowing themselves to continue to take
Yes.
and not give?
What are they
You
bringing to
know?
the table?
Right.
That's such a cliche,
You know,
but you know, like you know, me and my guys, we joke around about, you know, if you were to remarry or, you know, get with someone else, what would you look for? Is it the green eyes, the pretty hair, the physical disposition? I said, you know, if I had children, I would want someone to be there and to help
Yeah.
rear these kids and teach them, and you know what I'm saying? And
Absolutely.
earlier on
point
in
to
my
that.
relationship, that's what my wife did. And, you know, I didn't pressure her to go out and do anything. And the kids are doing marvelously in school. And you know, I have to, you know, disagree with that because, you know, I you know, to your point rather earlier, that, you know, I don't want her to go out and do anything other than what she's doing at home, because I think that's so important.
It is.
And if
it's
she wants to
working.
contribute,
It works.
that's beautiful too. But if I have to take on more of the onus or the burden, I'll do that.
Definitely.
I'll do that.
And I think that's something, if that's something that both of you agree on, I think it always works when you're in agreement. So,
Yeah.
Right.
you
right.
know.
That's why I keep saying
Have to
communication.
It's
communicate.
As long as you communicate,
Communication.
That's right.
communication is
That
key
is
for
true.
every situation.
Okay, so would you marry for love or money? We hear this question a lot
Definitely
when,
love,
when it
because
comes to relationships.
because money, you can win a lottery tomorrow and have the money, but now you won't got the love. So what you gonna do? Divorce that person? So love is so strong to me because I grew up in a loving household, loving family. Love is always. So it's cool to love to me, you know, because you know how the old slogan, I'm a lover, not a fighter. You know what I'm saying? So you want to be in a situation to where if you just live life by love, love is connected to God, and if you're going to be connected to God, you got to have love in your heart. So, period. I will never marry nobody for money because ain't nothing money can really do for me. What I can't do for myself financially, if it's something you just save and do it, you got a good job, you got a career. If you don't, go back to school. You can always go back to school.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
money don't change you. Money is the root of all evil. Never marry for money. Never.
I think it steers you away from love. You know,
Yeah.
there's
They
so
do.
many other things out there that money can buy you.
Yes.
You know, and they say love, but you know, think about it. I mean, if you were to buy, you can always buy that car or that boat or take those trips or those clothes or whatever, and you're more in love with the more materialistic things or the,
Yes.
you know, the outside influences.
You know, the scary thing about love is it's people that's adults that really never been in love before. And if you've been in love before and you reach love on a certain level, you know it's for the love. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know it's for the love. Because it's people
Absolutely.
that's been married for 30 years who really never loved each other. They got to the point where they just dealt with each other and tolerated each other. But I mean, love is so
Or
missing
just
out.
or
They're
just
missing
had
out.
each other.
Because you
Yeah.
can't
And
give,
nothing
you
else.
can't love someone if you never had it. You have
Wow.
to have experienced what love is in order to give it to somebody.
Yeah.
So if you don't know what the true meaning of love is, how can you give somebody love and you've never had it, never experienced it, don't know how it feels? You're just in a relationship like a, you know.
I've
Just go with the
I've
flow.
actually heard some women say, well, I'm just in a relationship just to be in a relationship, or I've always been in a relationship, you know, because they was a pretty girl or something. I've always had a boyfriend and stuff like that. That's not cool, you know. To be 6 years and have 7 boyfriends in 6 years and stuff like that, you should study dating, just looking for love, you know. Love comes natural.
Yes.
All right.
I agree.
Yes.
All right.
It's a spiritual thing.
It's all the way spiritual. You know, if you spiritually love somebody, and people need to really, don't waste people's time. Because if you really love somebody, let that
All right.
Yeah,
win.
I agree.
Well, guys, it went by so fast. I had such a pleasure talking with you guys and the ladies. I appreciate this so much. It's been great. We learned a lot. I'm sure you guys have. For sure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I better believe
So
it.
we thank you so much
Well, after
again.
the show, it's more things I can teach you ladies. But because I love this type of stuff, and you know, being in love, and I'm in love,
Interesting.
it make it fun. You
Well,
know,
thank
it do.
you.
It make it fun to share that. You know.
Thank you again. Thank you guys so much again for joining us for another episode or segment of Chicago's Finest Talk.
Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you to all my guests.
God bless.
And join us again.
Absolutely.
Good night.
Good night.